Hi, I'm Travis. For close to 7 years, I worked as a visa officer with the U.S. Department of State. And during that time, I interviewed tens of thousands of visa applicants from all over the world. Now, as a U.S. immigration attorney, I focus on helping applicants navigate through the complex and often nonsensical visa application and interview process. Today, I want to talk about 5 tips for the DS-160 form. If you're not aware, the DS-160 is really the first step in almost every non-immigrant visa application. Whether you are planning to come to the United States to work, to study, for a vacation, for business meetings, your first step in the process will be to fill out a form online. We'll put a link in the description below. Now, generally speaking, this form takes a while. You should budget probably 2 hours, maybe more. And that's not because any of the questions are difficult necessarily. It's simply because the form asks for lots of information and lots of details. So try to budget enough time to fill out the form with as much detail as possible. And now that leads me to my first tip, my first piece of advice, and that is to fill out the DS-160 form yourself. This is very important. As the first step of the visa process, the application process, this is really the first step in what we often refer to as an exercise in trust. When you actually appear in person for your visa interview, the first thing your visa officer is likely to review is your responses to the DS-160. If they find something that maybe doesn't make sense, or if they find that maybe one of your answers doesn't totally match with what you explained during your interview, chances are pretty good that the officer will conclude that they can't really trust anything that you're saying. And that will likely lead to a denial, and it could even lead to more complications down the line. Now, it is common for many visa applicants to hire an agent or a company to fill out this form for them. Let me be very clear. You can absolutely fill this form out by yourself. And even minor mistakes that may seem trivial can lead to major complications down the line. Many agencies, many companies that fill these forms out on behalf of applicants are not as scrupulous as you yourself might be. They're not always looking at all of the individual responses that they type in, and they may simply miss something that's crucial. For example, they may say that you have no family members in the United States. If you do, your visa officer probably already knows that, and that one little mistake, that one little error or omission could lead to a denial. It's that simple. So it's important that you fill this form out yourself so that you're sure that everything is accurate and that you've provided as many details as possible. And that leads me to my second tip, which is to check your answers, review all of your responses before you submit the form. The form is a little bit glitchy. It does freeze from time to time. It may log you out, and so it can be a little bit annoying, but it is important to save your progress often, and then before you submit the form, make sure that everything is accurate. Once you submit the form, it's essentially locked. There's no way to go back and change any of your responses. And so if you do find an error after you submit the form, your only option is to do the whole thing over again. And trust me, you want to avoid that if you possibly can. Now that leads me to my third tip, and that is to print out a copy of your responses also before you submit the form. After you submit your form, you can log back into the system using the same link that we've put in the description below, but you will not be able to review any of the responses you provided. So it's a really good just kind of rule of thumb, a general tip to print out your responses before you submit the form. Then, if maybe a day or a week or even a month later, you have a thought that, oh my goodness, maybe I made a mistake. Or maybe you just want to make sure that everything is accurate, You can review the responses in the printout, or at least the PDF or screenshot that you've saved, to give yourself that peace of mind that this is what you submitted. And then, of course, if you find an error or a mistake, you can always submit a new form. Now, the next tip, my tip number 4, and this is new, that is to submit the form before you pay for your interview and schedule your interview. Now, in the past, many immigration lawyers, including myself, would often tell applicants to start the form, then schedule the interview, and then take as much time as they need within a certain maximum limit to complete the form and review their answers before they submit it. That is no longer possible at a growing number of embassies and consulates around the world. As a new policy, these embassies and consulates require a DS-160 to be submitted, finalized and submitted before an interview may be scheduled. If you have not completed and submitted your DS-160 when you schedule your interview, that interview may be postponed and it may even be canceled. And that would be terrible because then you have to pay the fee all over again and schedule an interview even further out into the future. So again, review everything, submit the form, and only then should you schedule your interview. And then my 5th tip, and this is another new development that has happened very recently. For many visa applicants, specifically including F1 student applicants, there is an automated system now that is reviewing social media accounts. So there is a space in the DS-160 which asks you to provide your social media account names or handles for all of the social media accounts that you have. Now, you should make sure that you list everything. Even if you have a social media account, maybe a Facebook account or an Instagram account, for example, that you haven't used for a long time. If that account is active, if it is still available on the system, you should list that account. Now, specifically for Facebook, some consulates and some embassies suggest and recommend that you provide the specific URL, the website address for your account's homepage. The reason for that is because there are often more than one Facebook account under the same name, and so the automated system simply can't pinpoint a specific person if there's more than one account with the same name. So again, list all of your social media account names and include the specific URL for your Facebook accounts where the DS-160 asks for that information. Now, if you have further questions about the DS-160, we actually offer online courses available at www.zfvisaguides.com. We have a DS-160 course specifically for B1, B2 visitor visas and for F1 student visas. In these guides, we go through step by step in a live video introduction to the DS-160. We walk you through every single question of the form, giving you specific recommendations and guidance on how to provide as much detail as you can, and of course, how to be as honest and transparent as you can. So that's a great place to start if you are about to embark on this journey. Now, once you progress in the journey, we also offer online guides that help you prepare for the visa interview, arguably the most crucial step of the journey. We explain how to present complicated situations, how to most effectively communicate with your visa officer, and we even outline some documents that might be useful during the interview. And then we offer a comprehensive guide for both the B1, B2 visitor visa and the F1 student visa. This covers the entire process, starting from the DS-160 all the way through your eventual travel to the United States. We talk about not only how to prepare for the visa interview, but how to avoid potential complications, and then how to address those complications that you simply can't avoid. And with our complete guide, you also gain access to a bi-weekly question and answer session with either myself or my partner Mandy, who is also a former visa officer and U.S. immigration attorney. Now, if you would like one-on-one support, or if you have specific legal questions about your situation or about your application, reach out to us at info@zfvisa.com. We're happy to meet with you one-on-one and provide specific advice after we spend a moment to understand your unique situation and whatever complications you face. So with that, best of luck to you in your visa journey. I hope that this was helpful. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram to stay updated with tons of valuable resources and the latest updates about different U.S. visas.